was a big day on Sunday afternoon, and the chairman of Stewards, Graham Locke, is with us. Graham, how was the day overall?
Oh, look, Greg, we had a busy day, but considering the amount of prize money and the size of most of the fields, certainly the pacing fields, I think basically everybody behaved themselves.
Okay, races 1 and 2, not a lot to mention out of those, but before we get into a race number 3, we probably should mention that there was breath testing of all of the drivers that competed.
Yes, Greg, from time to time we routinely have breath testing, and in this case there were 55 drivers who performed or presented during the afternoon, and each driver was tested before taking their first drive. I'm happy to report that all tests recorded a 0 reading.
That is very good news. Let's go to race number 3, and this was the 4 and 5 year old trotters taken out by Iona Grinner.
Yeah, look, in the end it might have been some good fortune on the part of Iona Grinner. Those observing the race would have noticed that in the vicinity of the 500 metres, Quietly Spoken broke gate and galloped. There was a flow-on effect back in the field, or a consequential effect to both What's Up Mary and Glenferrie Burn. We just did confirm with Blake Fitzpatrick, the driver and trainer of Glenferrie Burn, and Blake reported that whilst the incident was unfolding, the leaders probably got 2 lengths on him, and he felt that in running to the line that probably cost him victory.
All right, race number 4. This was the Rising Stars heat number 10, and there was plenty of work in this one for the Stewards.
Yes, look, going to the first turn, there was an incident in which Jillaby Jagger and Storm on Czar hooked up. The Stewards held up the all clear. The driver of Storm on Czar wished to have a look at the vision in company, as he did, in company with trainer Kerry Ann Turner, and after doing so there was an objection lodged against Jillaby Jagger being declared the winner on the grounds of alleged interference in the vicinity of the 1300 metres. After taking evidence and reviewing the vision, the stewards were satisfied that the consequences of that interference and the manner in which it occurred was sufficient to uphold the objection.
Long way from home. Was it a cut and dried decision?
No, as most decisions as far as stewards' objections are concerned, there's always good, robust debate, and the matter's fully examined. Yes, it is a long way from home, but we felt that the significance to Storm on Czar in the circumstances and the manner in which the incident occurred, we were satisfied to uphold the objection.
Okay.
And out of that, Greg, there was a charge laid against Sam Ison for causing the interference. He was suspended from driving for 7 days, which commenced at midnight last night. In looking at the decision, the stewards noted that Sam hadn't been previously charged with causing interference in the past 200 drives, so he was given recognition of that in the penalty.
Duvella, there was a little bit of, didn't get a clear run?
Yeah, look, there were a couple of horses in the race, I think, for the future's perspective. Alan Rickson on Floyd Mayweather struggled to find clear running until probably the inside of the 100 metres, and as Floyd Mayweather's apt to do in these sort of races, finished the race off quite strongly. And 2 behind the place getters, it was probably, for those people watching, it would have been looked quite an exciting finish. I think there were 6 runners across the track. Well, just behind them, the grey horse Crancy's Flobwatch and Juvello were both having difficulty attaining clear running, and approaching the finish weren't fully tested.
Okay, that's race number 4. Let's have a look at race number 5, and this was the 4-year-old mares taken out by Sapphire Stride.
Yeah, look, positive drive on the winner. In respect to the beaten favourite Amaretto, that she would have looked disappointing on face value, and there would have been some queries, I'm certain, from punters watching the race, that when Luke McCarthy on Make Every Sense went forward 3 wide in the vicinity of the 1,000 metres, that Ashley Grives on Amaretto didn't jump on its back and improve with a cart into the race. We did question Mrs. Grives, after the race, into her reasons for not attempting to improve her position. She did explain that at the time that Amaretto improved, in her view, at the time Make Every Sense improved, Amaretto was off the bit in chasing. And when you have a look at the vision, that's probably the case. She certainly hasn't got the back of Make Every Sense, probably the best part of 2 lengths away from Make Every Sense, and clearly the horse is under pressure to improve. So having regard to the vision, considering the final section, and Mrs. Grives did say that on the back of a 56.6 last half, Amaretto's task from coming from back in the field was made quite difficult. We did accept the explanation, Greg.
Okay. Race number 6. This was the 2-year-old fillies. We had another short price favourite beaten. Don't Think Twice finishing 4th.
Yes, look, Don't Think Twice arguably has done a good job for Jason Grimson, who was one of our junior drivers in the earlier race. Probably an indication of things to come was that she did touch the arm immediately prior to or in the latter stages of the score up, and did race roughly for a couple of strides, and probably in the end had a harder run than Jason Grimson would have liked. We did have an incident on the first turn which was probably relevant in the circumstances, that the third place getter I'm with Lexi was trying to maintain a position on the leader's back, and Jovial Rock, driven by Luke McCarthy, was looking to slot into that position, and Mr. Hewitt on I'm with Lexi just couldn't improve quickly enough. We did look at the incident quite closely. In the end, issued a reprimand to Luke McCarthy for causing interference, and he was advised in future to give runners to his inside the required clearance. Unfortunately, we did take issue with Jason Grimson's use of the whip in the home straight, and he was fined a sum of $400, which is double the usual penalty, being a Group 1 race.
Mm-hmm. What about race number 7? That was Conviction's win for Steve and Amanda Turnbull.
Yeah, look, good dominant win, I thought. Ran right up to its previous run in the semi-final. It looked a 2-horse race, arguably opened a bit by 3 of the best, drawing favourably down in gate 1, and at the same time Conviction drawing out wide. I think it was in about 9 or 8. Amanda put that to bed in the early stages of the race by being positive, and I think it's you'd say in the circumstances, Greg, the best horse won.
There was a racing incident involving Rockin' in Memphis and also Our Little Digger.
Yes, Mr. Alford on Rockin' in Memphis, passing the winning post, was looking to fold down onto the pegs inside Bullet Stride. As he did so, Mr. Hewitt on Our Little Digger gained ground rather quickly, which resulted in Mr. Alford being placed in an awkward position, and one which was becoming more restricted, and he eased out of that situation quite sensibly. We deemed no driver to be at fault in the incident. And on Our Little Digger, Greg, he had difficulty obtaining clear running until the vicinity of the 100 metres in the straight.
Okay, race number 8, and this was taken out by Charleville for Kerry Ann Turner and Robbie Morris.
Yes, all runners in this race, Greg, had been presented to the Harness Racing New South Wales retention barn prior to 10 a.m. on Saturday the 25th of June, and were detained under surveillance until released on 12:35 on race day. On the first turn, Charleville also was just obliged to ease both Robert Morris and Blake Fitzpatrick on Match in Heaven. Were probably attempting to obtain the same position, and I guess in the push and shove, Match in Heaven had the advantage over Charleville, and as a consequence, Robert Morris steadied for the trail. Look, there's probably not much more to add, given the manner in which Charleville rounded them up after being wide on the turn.
Okay. Race number 9. Now, we saw the 3-year-old fillies Group 1 final go to Daryl Thomas, who's only got a small team. Rock Me Mama coming from off the pegs.
Yeah, I think this is a good result for the industry, Greg. And if you look at the results of Rock My Mama, and I think if you go back to the 2-year-old with She's Apples, you've got smallish stables who have been successful, and it probably just gives most of the participants in the sport hope that they only need the right horse to compete with the bigger stables on a day like the Alabar feature races.
Was there anything out of Rock Me Mama's race?
Oh, look, only a couple of things, Greg. I think I'm a Mystery Girl, Sports Report and Art Mistress all had difficulty at various stages in the home straight of obtaining clear running. All those horses have been very competitive now right through their age group. I've seen them on numerous occasions in finals. They only need luck to probably be where Rock Me Mama was, to be honest. We did take issue with the use of the whip by Mr Callaghan, the driver of Rock Me Mama, in the last stages of the race, probably about the last 5 strides. He did cross his reins and use a whip with a free hand, which under the provisions of the penalty guidelines resulted in a fine of $400.
Okay. Race number 10, the Len Smith Mile, and Lenny the Shark was the short price favourite, and he was defeated by Hector JJ, another one from the David Aiken team.
Yes, well, from our perspective, there was very little happening in the race apart from the fact that there were a couple of runners who wanted to be forward and probably didn't have great luck in the race. And firstly, that would have been Frith, who was 3 wide for some part and eventually got into the running line, and tracking it forward would have also been a Hoka Punter, which eventually also got into the running line, probably in the vicinity of the 600 metres. My Gelignite, which was the 3rd one in the 3 wide train, didn't have the same luck. It was 3 wide throughout the race, and for it to still be in the fight probably at the 50 or 60 metre mark was a huge run. But from a horse to follow, and from watching these horses race in the better class races throughout the year, I think it's a good insight, Greg, to what might occur.
Okay, and what about race number 11, the last event, another one of the Breeders' Challenge races won by Mouse in the House, again for Steve Turnbull?
Yes, look, we did report that Days End, Colonel Joy and He's a Dude all had difficulty obtaining clear running in the straight. He's a Dude probably remarkably appeared to be the first horse beaten, but running to the finish had commenced to run on again and actually become held up near the line. We did question Nathan Jack, the driver of Ego Dan, in respect of his tactics in the early stages. We were concerned by the first sectional of the first half mile of the race, which was run in a fairly quick sectional. Mr Jack did explain to us that he'd been given no specific instructions by trainer Mr Bizzuto, but there had been discussion pre-race in respect of being positive from the gate. Having reviewed the horse's previous 3 starts, the stewards didn't take exception to the tactics that had been used.
All right, and finally there was an inquiry that was opened up into the meeting?
Yes, Greg. Late in the meeting, probably somewhat disappointingly from the stewards' perspective, we were notified that a runner in race 4, being the eventual winner Storm on Czar, had arrived on course after the time prescribed. Under the New South Wales Harness Racing New South Wales requirements, at a metropolitan meeting, those horses were required on track at 1.5 hours before their race time, which in this case was 11:44. On the official sheet that we've received from the gate attendant, that horse is noted as being 25 minutes late into the barn. We've subsequently opened an inquiry. We've interviewed trainer K.A. Turner and licensed driver Mr Morris in regards to their understanding of the transport of that horse to the race meeting. We've subsequently downloaded closed circuit television footage of the barn area. That will be reviewed, and in respect of evidence that we've already taken, we last night at Penrith downloaded another phone, a mobile phone, and to verify some of the evidence that we've provided with, and that matter's ongoing, Greg.
All right then, thank you for that, Mr Locke, and enjoy the rest of the racing at Menangle.
Yeah, thanks, Greg, and this is your last program with us, and from my perspective in particular, I'd just like to thank you for your assistance to me as a relatively newcomer to Harness Racing New South Wales, and I wish you all the best and no doubt we'll continue to see more of you in your role with Sky.
Thanks very much.
Sure.